This is Hayes Q Jones, your DVD and Blu-ray baller on a budget, and this is HQ Videos for you. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're a current subscriber, what's up? You're greatly appreciated. Come on in, make yourself at home. You know the routine. This week for my collection video, I wanted to focus on villains, my top 10 favorite villains. And villains, in my opinion, are an integral part of a great movie. Certain aspects that make a great movie for me, it has to have a good story, it has to be interesting, it has to be compelling, it has to be engaging, it has to have good cinematography. I like to see the surroundings, I like to see the facial expressions, I want to be pulled into the story. Uh, Most importantly, it has to have good characters, it has to have an interesting, compelling hero, heroine, protagonist, whatever you want to call them. On the flip side, the villain or the antagonist has to be equally engaging. And what from the parameters I chose, my top or favorite villains, they had to evoke some type of strong feeling within me. Either it was that I strongly disliked them, or it's feeling empathy. I could empathize with their story, contempt, I just can't stand them, or fear that these people could actually exist in real life. Just a small caveat, I didn't include any slasher films. I thought that was like a whole different video, like Freddy, Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, Terrifier, Candyman, etc. So these are my top 10 favorite villains. Without further ado, sit back, relax, have a drink of a smoke, and I'll catch you on the other end of this video. We're back at the Black Cave. Back at the Black Cave. We are back at the motherfucking Black Cave. I'm going to kick it off with my number 10 pick. This is the 1990 crime drama horror thriller Misery. This was directed by Rob Reiner, who I believe was Meathead in On the Family, if I'm not mistaken. Produced by Stephen Nicolaides, written by Stephen King. This stars James Caan, Kathy Bates, Richard Farnsworth, Francis Sternhagen, and Lauren Bacall. The plot behind this: after stalking and saving the life of a favorite fiction author in a car accident, his maniac obsessor holds him captive in a remote Colorado home. And Kathy Bates is phenomenal in this role. She goes from 0 to 100 in 3 seconds just from being this very kind of doting, loving, kind of auntie type fan of Stephen Caan, the writer, to this sadistic, crazy Karen scene. And if you haven't seen this, again, I don't give spoilers away in my video, but there's a scene with the sledgehammer that makes all first-time watchers just cringe, like, oh. But my number 10 pick for all-time villains, Misery. And this is a 20th Century Fox release. And this little extra card that came with it, I believe I got this at, I think maybe Walmart, maybe. Misery. My number 9 pick for favorite villains, Zod in Man of Steel. This is a 2013 action-adventure science fiction film. This was directed by Zack Snyder, produced by Wesley Collar, and written by Richard Festiva. This stars Henry Cavill, Amy Adams, Michael Shannon, Diane Lane, and Russell Crowe. The plot behind this: a young boy learns that he has extraordinary powers and is not of this earth. As a young man, he journeys to discover where he came from and what he was sent here to do. But the hero in him must emerge if he is to save the world from annihilation and become the symbol of hope and all of mankind. And this is a special 3D metal case. And the reason why Zod is my favorite villain, if you're familiar with the story, again, I'm not going to go into too much detail. Zod was genetically, and this is Zod, Michael Shannon played the hell out of that role. But Zod was genetically designed to save his planet Krypton by any means necessary. All the Kryptonians back then were predisposed to do certain tasks, whatever. So it was his job to save Krypton, opposed to Superman or Kal-El, who was the exclusion. His father didn't genetically have him predisposed to anything. He gave him actually free will. So actually, if you look at it, Zod was more for his home planet than Superman was. Superman was actually for his own earthly planet. So that's what just makes Zod, to me, the perfect villain. You can empathize with him, and you can actually, to a certain extent, take his side. And again, Michael Shannon is just fantastic actor, very menacing and just very convincing. So my number 9 pick for best villains, Zod from Man of Steel. My number 8 of favorite villains be Gollum from The Hobbit. The Hobbit is a 2012 adventure family fantasy film. This was directed by Peter Jackson, produced by Carolyn Blackwood, written by Fran Walsh. This stars Ian McKellen, Martin Freeman, Richard Armitage, Ken Stott, Graham McTavish. Actually, the actor who played the character, of course you have Elijah Wood, is Andy Serkis. And Gollum is a character that you almost feel sorry for. And if you haven't seen it, I'm not going to give the plot away, though, but essentially he is obsessed with a ring, thus the Lord of the Rings. And he has no control over his desire for the ring. And that desire and obsession has turned him to some type of creature over the years. So he's my more empathetic, with the villain I empathize the most with. He really can't help his situation, and he's obsessed with, again, doing the ring, obtaining that ring. So my number 8 pick for villains, Gollum from the Hobbit trilogy. And just a little. And this is a Warner Brother release. Oh, and I'm assuming, of course, Man of Steel, Warner Brother release. The Hobbit. And I'll also throw in the Lord of the Rings trilogy also, since he is in this one also. Gollum. I believe this is New Line Cinema. My number 7 pick is Amy Dunn from Gone Girl. It's a 2014 crime drama mystery thriller. This was directed by David Fincher, produced by Sean Chaffin, written by Gillian Flynn. This stars Ben Affleck, Rosamund Pike, Neil Patrick Harris, Tyler Perry, Carrie Coon. The plot behind this, when his wife's disappearance having become the focus of an intense media circus, a man sees the spotlight turned on him when it's suspected that he may not be innocent. And I thought Glenn Close in Fatal Attraction was a crazy female. Amy Dunn is just off the chain with the precision, the cold, calculated moves that she makes on Ben Affleck. I don't want to go into any details though, but if you're a father, you have a son, that's your nightmare of him meeting any kind of female like that. She is just off the chain, crazy villainous. So my number, and who did this? Who is the 20th Century Fox? My number seven pick for villains, in this case, villainess, Amy Dunn from Gone Girl. My number 6 pick, Killmonger from Black Panther. This is a 2018 action-adventure science fiction film. This was directed by Ryan Coogler, written by Ryan Coogler, produced by Victoria Alonso. This stars Chadwick Boseman, may he rest in peace, Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger, Lupita Nyong'o, Denai Gura, Martin Freeman, Daniel Kaluuya, Letitia Wright, Angela Bassett, Forrest Whitaker, Andy Serkis. Those are the big names. Zoe Williams. The plot behind this, King T'Challa returns home to the reclusive technology-advanced African nation of Wakanda to serve as the country's new leader. However, T'Challa soon finds that he is challenged on the throne by factions within his own country as well as without. And what makes Killmonger such a fantastic villain, you have to empathize with him. Essentially, and being careful, I don't want to spoil too much for people who actually haven't seen this, but he actually had a birthright to the throne. Also, they referenced the 60s and the 50s where in the United States, blacks were being oppressed. They're over in Wakanda living the high life. It was like, why didn't you guys come over and, help a brother out? So looking at that side, Killmonger was actually more of a Black American hero, where Wakanda was actually kind of a universal hero or an African hero. So that's what makes Killmonger, in my opinion, a fantastic, very, very engaging, interesting character. So my number six pick for villains, Michael B. Jordan, Killmonger. And this is Disney, of course. My number 5 for favorite villains, Voldemort from Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. It's a 2001 adventure family fantasy film. This was directed by Chris Columbus, produced by Todd Arno, and written by J.K. Rowling. This stars Richard Harris, Dame Maggie Smith, Robbie Coltrane, Saunders triplets, Daniel Radcliffe, Fiona Shaw, Hera Melling, Richard Griffith. The plot behind this, Harry Potter has lived under the stare at his aunt and uncle's house his whole life. But on his 11th birthday, he learns he's a powerful wizard and with a place waiting for him at the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. And Voldemort's such a bad character, you can't even say his name. People are like, don't say his name. I just love that whole aspect with him. And what's great is his legend or his appearance kind of grows throughout the series. He becomes a little bit more menacing. You start seeing him a little bit more, and you understand why he deserves all the fear from all the wizards and witches. So, and this is a Warner Brothers release. So my number 5 pick for great favorite villains, Voldemort from Harry Potter. My number 4 pick, Hannibal Lecter from the Silence of the Lambs series. That Silence of the Lambs is a 1991 crime drama thriller. This was directed by Jonathan Demme, produced by Grace Blake, written by Thomas Harris. This stars Jodie Foster, Anthony Hopkins, Scott Glenn, Ted Levine, Anthony Held, Brooke Smith, Dan Baker. The plot behind this, Clarice Starling is a top student at the FBI's training academy. Jack Crawford wants Clarice to interview Dr. Hannibal Lecter, a brilliant psychiatrist who is also a violent psychopath, serving life behind bars for various acts of murder and cannibalism. And actually, Manhunter is the first Hannibal movie, really. Who was the actor that did that? can't think of his name. But it's a great movie. But something about Anthony Hopkins, he just brings his own swag to the character. He's intelligent, he's articulate, very charismatic. Just the part that he's a psychopath and he's a cannibal, you might want to not hang around with him though. But again, to be a cannibal and have the audience still kind of root for you in a sense is a very amazing feat to pull off. And Anthony Hopkins does that great, excellent, so well that, again, they had a trilogy, and also they had a television spinoff with Mads Mikkelsen, which is also an excellent watch. I think there was 3 series. So my number 4 pick for favorite villains, Hannibal the Cannibal, Hannibal Lecter, 20th Century Fox. My number 3 pick for favorite villains, Thanos from the Avengers. This is Avengers Age of Ultron. This is Avengers Infinity War. But Age of Ultron is where he actually made his cameo. This is a 2015 action-adventure science fiction film. This was directed by Joss Whedon, produced by Victoria Alonso, also written by Joss Whedon. And if you're familiar with the Avengers, long list of characters and stars: Robert Downey Jr., Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, Jerry Reamer, James Spader, Samuel Jackson, Don Cheadle, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bettany, list goes on. The plot behind this: when Tony Stark tries to jumpstart a dormant peacekeeping program, things go awry, and Earth's mightiest heroes are put to the ultimate test as the fate of the planet hangs in the balance. And again, Thanos was introduced in this one, and this kind of gets more into the story of Thanos. And he is he's almost godlike. He just has that much power, but godlike with a caveat: he needs the glove, kind of like Michael Jackson with the stones. And once he has that, he has infinite power. And if you're not familiar with the story, I'm not gonna ruin it for you though. And prior to doing this video, I actually thought Ron Perlman was Thanos because it sounded like him, but it's actually Josh Brolin. And I've been watching Josh Brolin since the days of Goonies, Men in Black 3. He comes from a line of actors. His father, I can't think of his father's first name. I think he was in Dynasty. He was a big actor in his day, I think in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So he comes from the acting pedigree. So my number 3 pick for my favorite villains, Thanos from the Avengers. My number 2 pick for favorite villains, the Joker, specifically Heath Ledger in the Joker from The Dark Knight. Dark Knight is a 2008 action crime drama thriller. This was directed by Christopher Nolan, produced by Kevin Delanoy, written by Jonathan Nolan. This stars Christian Bale, Heath Ledger, Aaron Eckhart, Michael Caine, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Gary Oldman, Morgan Freeman, Monique Kernan, Ron Dean, Cillian Murphy. The plot behind this: Batman raises the stakes in his war on crime. With the help of Lieutenant Jim Gordon and District Attorney Harvey Dent, Batman sets out to dismantle the remaining criminal organizations that plague the streets. And the cover of the Blu-ray should say it all. It's supposed to be about Batman and the Dark Knight, but who's on the cover? The Joker. And prior to this, I loved Jack Nicholson in the Michael Keaton version of Batman. I thought Jack Nicholson actually saved that movie for me, just his personality, but Heath Ledger took it to a whole different level. He got into the darkness. He actually became the Joker, and one of the most amazing performances in comic book cinema history, in my opinion, though. So my number 2 pick for great villains of all time, my favorite villains of all time, Heath Ledger and the Joker in The Dark Knight. My number one villain or favorite villain of all time, Darth Vader from Star Wars. Star Wars is a 1977 action-adventure fantasy science fiction film. This was directed by George Lucas, produced by Gary Kurtz, also written by George Lucas. This stars Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Peter Cushing, Sir Alec Guinness, Anthony Daniels, Kenny Baker, Peter Mayhew, David Prowse, and the voice of James Earl Jones. The plot behind this: Princess Leia is captured and held hostage by the evil Imperial forces in an effort to take over the Galactic Empire. And first of all, what's not to like about Darth Vader? He's tall, he's dark, he's mysterious, and as the series progresses with the second series of trilogies, you learn more about his backstory, so you kind of understand why he is who he is and why he does what he does. But this, in my opinion, is one of the most iconic, most memorable villains of all time. This is back in 1977, and they're still making more Star Wars movies, and they're still referring to Darth Vader. So my number one pick, and by the way, this is 20th Century Fox release, now Disney now. So number one villain of all times, Darth Vader from Star Wars. And these are my top 10 favorite villains from some of my favorite movies. If you made it this far in the video, smash a like, give me the big thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe. If you have your own favorite villain that I didn't mention, please leave it in the comments. Other than that, may the best of your past be the worst of your future. Everyone, please be safe. Deuces.